Hello everyone. I hope you all are back in front of your screens because now we are beginning with an interesting panel discussion about improving agility in large organizations. And today we have Orod who is gonna facilitate this panel discussion. He's an agile coach at State Revenue Office. We have Jason Cameron, who is agile coach and trainer at Scrum Craft. Sushila Kumari, who is a principal consultant at Infosys, and we have Sharad Dwivedi, who is principal consultant at Infosys. So we are looking forward to this interesting panel discussion. And before we move on to the discussion, I thank our founding sponsor, Innovation Roots, which is a leading consulting and training service provider, helping organizations to achieve business agility and beyond. It is one of the leaders and pioneers of niche publishing services and well known for content collaboration with global thought leaders, authors, creators. You can find out more details at www.innovationroots.com. Here are some do's and don'ts for joining the next events. Join 5 minutes before the start time. Recommended to use high quality speakers or headphones. Keep your microphones muted and videos disabled during the session because it may cause disturbance to the panelists and it may cause bandwidth issues. At any point of time you have questions for our panelists, please make use of the chat box. At the end of this session, the facilitator will read out and ask the questions to the panelists on your behalf. And at the end of the event, please share the feedback so that we can improve in future events. And with that, I would like to call Oro to please tell us a bit about himself.
Thanks, Nupur. Yes, I'm Orod. I'm an Agile coach. I'm an accredited Kanban trainer and SAFe trainer. And I've been working with a scaled up organization as well as large organization and help them to transform to Agile and improve their agility in last almost 10 years. And I'm a facilitator for this session. Thanks for the time.
Thank you, Arod. Now let's hear from Sushila about herself.
Thank you, Nupur. Hi, everyone. Yeah, I'm Sushila Kumari, and I have around 15 plus years of varied IT industry experience, and I'm hands-on experience working on Agile, Scrum, and Kanban with the development teams in various sectors, including HR, telecom, banking, and I've also run a lot of workshops for to help the large organizations and their agile transformation. Yeah, that's me. Thank you.
Thank you, Sushila. Let's move on to know a little bit about Jason.
Hello. So my name's Jason Cameron. I'm a Agile trainer and coach for Scrumcraft. I'm also a Agile practice lead for a financial institution in Australia. And we have, I guess from myself, I've got 15 years of industry experience, 7 of those within Scrum. I'm a Scrum Inc. registered trainer and Scrum at Scale trainer, as well as a Scaled Agile partner, transformation partner. And yeah, we offer a lot of courses for scaling agility and within Scrumcraft. And my personal mission and the mission of Scrumcraft is to demystify Agile at scale. So I wanted to make sure that scaling agility is more consumable for people. It's not the complex beast that that you may think it may be.
Thank you, Jason. Now let's hear about Sharad from himself.
Thank you, Nupur. Hello, everyone. So I am Sharad Kumar Dwivedi, and I have around 20 years of IT experience, majorly in development, um, managing projects, and the IT digital transformation with Agile and DevOps. I have been working with multiple organizations in the like past 12 plus years in the agile space. My journey started with Target Corporation in somewhere around 2010 when I injected my first project with agile. And after that, I learned a lot, and I think I'm still learning. I have used my skills in multiple organizations in different domains with telecom, banking, insurance, retail, and payment industry. And currently, I am associated with bank in Australia. And yes, I very much love Agile and DevOps, and I think it helps a lot in the today's world for the all kind of growth in the organization.
Thank you, everybody. Now over to you, Arod, for the discussion.
All right, thanks, Nupur. All right, so I think everyone who's been involved in agile transformation know that improve agility in even small organization is quite challenging. Today we will talk about how to improve it in large organization, which is probably a lot more challenging. But before we start talking about how to improve agility, I think it's good to define what agility is, and especially because in our panel we have people with different experience in different industry. So I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page and have the same perhaps definition or clear definition about agility, and then we continue about how to improve it. And whoever wants to start, please start. What does agility means to you or the client that you work with?
Definitely. Sure, Arad. So maybe I would like to share some of my insights, and then I would welcome to hear from other panelists as well. So basically, for me, um, agility means three major things. Um, One is the speed, second, value to the end customer, and third is improvement. And I think the overall agility in any kind of organization revolve to all of these criterias.
Mhm.
And if you see agility, it does not mean that it has to be only in the IT organization, because it's also kind of process improvement, so it can fit anywhere in any part of the world, in any kind of industry, right?
Mhm.
You take example of like how it has been evolved by the American scientist in the Japan while observing, having key observations in the manufacturing industry in the car space, right? And especially in Toyota, like they came up with so many different lean concepts, which helped a lot in different stages of the process improvement. And
Yeah.
then it has been continuously evolved in different species, right?
Okay.
Today it's part of government, it is in NASA, in defense, in pharma, in different kind of sectors, right? And that's how I think it goes.
Cool.
So
So
any thoughts from anyone?
just to make sure I'm clear. So basically what you said, and correct me if I'm wrong. You said agility means uh, deliver value to the customer as fast as possible with continuous improvement. Can I define it like that? Put it in that way? Okay. Anyone else want to add or have any different opinion?
Yeah.
I'd completely agree with what Sarad had said, and I just think of it from that empiricism sort of approach, that transparency, inspection, and adaptation. So business agility at all levels of the organisation and throughout all divisions of an organisation are looking at making their work transparent, so there's not duplication of work, that sort of
Mhm.
thing. better communication, and they've got that inbuilt sort of robust concept of innovation and improvement. So inspecting and adapting, making things transparent so that there's that continuous cycle.
Cool.
Yeah.
Perfect. Jason.
Yeah, Arad, I totally agree with uh, Jason and Sharad. I
Mhm.
just wanted to add one more point here that was inspect and adapt, but Jason had covered that. And it's a continuous process. It's not like one-time process. You set up everything, you change the mindset. It's continuous check whether how agile you are, how what's the agility level. You have to periodically check that and then inspect and then adapt, refine your process and refine your strategy, refine your stuff, and then continue with that journey. So it's a continuous process.
Cool. Perfect. I also,
Absolutely.
yes.
Absolutely. So one more point, which is, I would be very happy to add is it's a journey, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure everyone will be agreeing to that. Now, when we talk about the journey, it has different stages. So anyone can start with zero because every kind of journey has origin to destination, right? And the most important point is for the organizations or the leadership is to first think about what is the destination, what is our goal, where we
Mm-hmm.
want to go, what we want to achieve. And in that sense, different phases are need to be defined. So the most important thing, key pillars in this journey is
Mm-hmm.
define, uh, like we do assessments, and then we implement, and when we scale.
Mm-hmm.
And during all these four pillars, we enable all the different kind of systems, right? Whether it is process oriented, whether it is technology oriented, or even people oriented.
Yeah. Cool. Perfect. So I think now we all agree that agility is the goal, and there is no end into agility. We can't say it's finished because it's very common, especially in large organization, that they define an agile transformation, which has a start and end date, and after that they say, okay, it's finished. We are agile now, and all good. So I just also wanted to refer to David Anderson definition of agility. He said agility means deliver the right work to the right customer at the right time, and
Absolutely.
then you can change direction, right? And if we can, remove the waste, as Jason said, and continuously improve, as Sharad and Sushila said, then we can improve agility. All right. So now, what will be, based on your experience, will be the most challenging impediment or obstacle to achieve
Yeah.
agility or improve agility in large organization?
Yeah, I want to go first, Rod, because I was involved in agile transformation for one of the largest organization in 2010 around. So
Mhm.
I want to start with the major obstacle that we faced. So one of the things that we faced was there was a disconnect between the top leadership, middle management, and then the development teams with
Mhm.
respect to. So the coaching was actually needed at all three levels, definitely. But the focus was more on coaching, training, and then enabling the development teams, and without actually coaching or without actually involving the middle management.
Mhm.
So there was a huge disconnect. The middle management continued with the waterfall mindset,
Mhm.
whereas the teams at the ground level were actually trying to adopt Scrum approach. So
Okay.
there was a huge disconnect.
All right.
And yeah, it was a kind of we did have a short goal. We were somewhere partially achieved the short goal because of lack of connection or lack of shared understanding or agreement between all the layers involved in the organization. So that was a major setback that I experienced. Another thing that I actually experienced was with respect to restructuring the roles. If you want to adopt uh, agile ways of working, then it definitely required revisiting, restructuring the roles. So when we defined, as an agile coach, I defined new ways of working and also came up with a team structure and tried to revise that team structure involving the leadership teams. But then the problem was the middle management said, wherein our roles are fitting. Can you refine this to fit in our roles over there?
Okay.
So
All
so
right.
the structures, so the structures were actually adjusted to
Yeah.
include all the roles that were already existing, because didn't want to, they were clinging on to their roles. They didn't want to lose
Okay.
their roles. So that fear we could
Yeah. So
see
just
actually. So
summarize.
again, with coaching, yeah, that was a big, these were the big challenges that I seen. There were more challenges when we were working on agile transformation at the ground level with the development teams. There were more challenges, but I would first hear other panelists and then share that thought as well. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Sorry to interrupt. Uh, just to make sure everyone also have this
Yep.
chance to talk, and also, we don't go too far. So just to
Yep.
summarize what you said, you talk about the gap between middle management and development team, lack of education in middle management, and also you said as part of this agile transformation, you had to restructure the organization, and middle management kind of resist because they couldn't find any place in this restructure. Is that correct? And you
That's
found
right,
it.
Arad. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks. All right. Anyone else has any different experience?
I've got a very sort of quick summary to add on to that, because some of that is actually covered in the thoughts that I've got. So I
Mhm.
think of it as there being four major impediments, and this is sort of reinforced time and time again. It's visible in um, uh, the Agile State of Agile report every year. About 40% or more people tend to find these top four in the mix. One is prioritization. The organization's ability to prioritize the right work
Mhm.
is probably one of the number one issues. So a lot of bottom-up sort of prioritization occurs rather than top-down strategic alignment.
Mhm.
Team's ability to have the right tools in place and the right processes in place to develop working products sprint on sprint. Carrying items over, not having a solid definition of done as part of a Scrum approach, if that's what you're going with. So getting working product out there, so getting the right thing out. The organization's ability to reorganize itself or refactor itself based on new priorities. A new change is introduced into the market, or we're hit with something that's quite, a global impact, or like COVID, for instance. Ability to reprioritize the organization and its people is really hard for a lot of larger organizations. Easier for startups, hard for established organizations.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
the last one is
yeah, yeah.
culture, which is very much talking about the stuff that Sheila was talking about before.
Jason, I'm actually quite interested because you said one of the challenges was to, the approach was bottom up rather than top to bottom strategic, you know, decision making. One thing we normally do as part of also it's part of the agile principle is to decentralize decision making. Let the people to organize around the work and make decision about what they want to work. Can you elaborate on this one? What do you mean by top to bottom strategic decision making?
Sure. So, as you can imagine, if teams from the bottom up, they're gonna make some correct assumptions, and they're going to make some incorrect assumptions. If they're not informed as to the strategic direction of the organization and what's a high priority in terms of what's being invested in and what customers want to see and that
Mhm.
sort of thing. So sometimes if it's purely bottom up approach, teams can sometimes make up work that they think is right, but perhaps maybe is not going to hit the mark as far as the customer using it at the end of the day. We still want teams, obviously, sorry, not necessarily obviously, but we definitely want teams to still work out how they're going to deliver on the strategy. But we also need that top down to tell us what is the high priority, what is important to the customer, and connect the two together.
Gotcha. So to
Yeah.
make sure that team, what basically team deliver, it's aligned with the organization or enterprise strategy in that level. Cool, perfect.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jeff. Sharad, do you have different experience? Do you have anything else? Any different challenges in based on your experience? You work with large insurance and large banks.
Absolutely, Orad. And I was feeling the urge to add, my comments to what Sushila and Jason added there. Uh, Basically, I see one of the most important aspects is the influencing without authority, especially when the agile coaches they work in the organization when they are injected, right? um, it is very much important that how much authority they have, and that absolutely is in relation with the bottom up approach or the top to bottom approach, right? Top down approach. So
Mhm.
when the in any organization, any kind of industry, it doesn't matter that it is banking or retail or telecom or defense or government. If the agile aspects are going to be implemented by the leaders in the top down approach, then there is a power, an empowered authority involved, because there are instructions, there are directions which people have to kind of follow. But
Mhm.
uh, when some organization, when they get this kind of instructions that okay, you know what, we have to inject the agility in a particular department, and this has to be starting with the teams, and when teams has to go through the scrum transformation or kanban transformation or any kind of approach they have to follow, then team they start trying to understand this, they start trying to understand and then implement without understanding that what exactly they have to do for the long term, right? What is their end goal, and who is
Yeah,
going to guide them. And as I
yeah.
said, when even if the agile coaches are there in the system and where they are working without authorization or without proper empowerment, then sometimes what happens, they face a lot of challenges in terms of dealing with the leadership and with
Mhm.
the business as well,
So can
right?
I
It is not only about the technology.
can say lack of vision or lack of transparency between senior management and the delivery team that can cause some sort of issue because especially when we work with knowledge worker, I think vision and having or giving the vision to the people, it helps them and motivates them, and lack of that definitely
Absolutely.
be a source of demotivation.
Absolutely.
So we talk about lots of challenges. Sharad, what do you think we need to do to resolve these impediments and challenges?
I think the best approach is going with a mixed approach, where is a perfect mix of top down and bottom up both together,
Mhm.
because uh, it is very much important that the leadership they first start making the strategies and a roadmap, so
Mhm.
that they can clear out that what exactly are the pillars of those objectives, right? What they want to achieve, and then those objectives can be given to the further organization, like in the bottom, like top down approach. And then simultaneously they also derive a training program which actually uh, reaches till the ground level to all the teams and all the members in the organization, and they understand it is not only related to the technology, it is also related to the processes. And then everyone has to work together to achieve that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's how it makes everything successful, because everyone is aligned that what they have to do. Because it
Right.
is not only about things to make straightforward in Jira or any kind of work item management tool. It is all about keeping the objective straight, whether it is at the story level or at the theme level.
Sure. All right, Sushila, I saw that you raised your hand.
Yeah. Yes,
What
Arad,
happened?
we
Why?
actually had this experience of bringing in transformation in one of the program. So we started, actually, we were hired to train the teams and then bring in and train them on the frameworks basically, and then agile mindset and all that. We started actually, so we trained several, we gradually expanded our wings to many programs actually. We started at the bottom up approach where we coached the teams, trained the teams, and then had several workshops. But we were uh, in between checking always that do we have buy-in from the top management, and there was no buy-in. We were hired by the middle management to train their ground teams. They said they are preparing the ground teams, for the agile transformation, but there wasn't any buy-in from the top client management, and that didn't succeed. So
Okay.
finally, after traveling for some time, as Sharad said, there should be a hybrid model. We had to get in buy-in because training involved funding as well, bringing
Mm-hmm.
in, changing in plan as well, and including new roles as well. So a lot of stuff, things, tooling as well, as Jason said, everything was involved, so which needed buy-in from the top management. So
Okay.
my experience says, Rod, it's a hybrid model that works. There should be a parallel top-down approach.
Mm-hmm.
You bring in and bottom up in parallel, and there should be kind of sandwich model where you try to, that would actually bring in those gaps where you have resistance and then cultural differences, and then you can actually target on those areas that are actually challenges and then work on them. But it's a hybrid model that had worked with us finally, or not.
Yeah, perfect. So Sharad, basically he said that we need to align management and delivery team on the same goal. So make sure they're all part of the same problem and they have the same goal to achieve. And Sushila, you said we need to spend a little bit more time to educate and coach the management and do the top to bottom approach. Jason, based on your experience, what do you think we need to do, to remove those obstacles?
I think of it as a method of, because your impediments could be anything, and it could actually include people, right? Your impediment might actually be management, for instance. So I think that as you probably all know the concept around the sphere of influence, and you've got that the middle of the sphere is control. It's something you've got control over. The outside of that control, you've got areas that you can influence, and then outside of that is things that you can't influence at all, right? Where you might need help. So when I look at that, I think that that's a good analogy to use to then look at, as an individual team, we can control certain impediments and we can remove those impediments ourselves. In a larger organization, we may have some ideas about how we may go about removing particular impediments, but we need to collaborate with each other. Each team needs to collaborate with each other at a program kind of level to understand, oh, this thing might be impacting you too. Shall we get together and try and work on this together? So that's that influence sphere. Now, sitting outside of that, sometimes you need policy writers or people with a checkbook or people that have got funding that can help remove certain impediments as well. So you kind of have that escalation path that's fairly nice and neat, to be honest, when you're looking at removing impediments. If you think about it from the, have I got control over this? Can I influence it, or don't I have control? And you know where to go to get your impediments resolved.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So basically, focus on what we can do. If we can't, then communicate and find out who can help us.
Absolutely.
Awesome, good, good
Absolutely.
stuff. All right. So another things I'm quite interested because a lot of people believe that agile is not scalable or shouldn't be scaled. And we need to, break everything we have into some small team and let team autonomously work. What do you think about this statement? Anyone?
So I would start. So basically, it is absolutely scalable, and there are multiple methods and frameworks available for that. Um, Scalability is very much important.
Hmm.
Why? Because it is all about that uh, in one organization, it is not only one team who can make the impact. There are multiple teams. And sometimes when you are working on the large architecture or a huge product to launch, or it requires multiple different phases to be launched, right? And different kind of versions to be launched, and then even for the maintenance kind of application or projects,
Yeah.
there are always multiple teams involved, and it may be, and mostly it happens that they all are working under one umbrella or
Mhm.
in for one architecture. So the
Yeah.
key thing is, the most important thing is the integration,
Gotcha.
among the different components, right?
Yeah.
And there people actually face the conflicts, because ultimately we are human being, we make mistakes, and we do communication. There are challenges in different modes of communication, and through those things we inject the defects. When the defects injections happen, how to solve all those things together? For
Yeah.
that, it is very much important to have a proper process based framework to be implemented, where people are taking that what objectives we want to achieve together, and simultaneously at the same time. And
Gotcha.
that's the key we can implement.
Integration definitely in large organization is quite important. What about agility in, because we talk about agility in IT industry, and I'm sure most people have experience in IT industry. But how about agility in other department, in HR department, in sales, marketing, those kind of things? What do you think we need to do in those department,
It,
non-IT based?
it is absolutely possible. It is absolutely possible, and
Have
I
around,
would endorse 100%.
yeah, we have
Because yes, we do have examples for that. Like we have seen those things even in Australia, in large telecom organization, where people from the business and from the marketing team, from the HR department, they have kind of evolve themselves by utilization of the Kanban techniques for their process improvements,
yeah,
right? It may not be possible that they are not directly involved with any kind of software development or application development, but for the day-to-day processes, they can define the acceptance criteria, they can define the goals, they can
sure,
define what all the tasks they are doing, right? And just tracking down those tasks and targeting for the short term goal and the long term goal, it
perfect.
definitely can be managed well and can be delivered.
Thanks. So in last 6 minutes, Sushila and Jason, you have 3 minutes each to make sure you all have enough time. Jason, do you want to add anything about HR? Do you have any experience with marketing or sales?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I mean, I think of them as a team, right? If you put it simply, they're a team like any other team. They've got work to do. They can all benefit from the same sorts of attributes that you get within IT or technology teams. Having teams focus,
Mm-hmm.
using practices like pairing gives great opportunity for collaboration and knowledge sharing and knowledge transfer. And then you're sort of starting to create that momentum within a non-technology team to become more cross-functional. You're getting the same sorts of benefits that you can from that. Probably the bit that I'd say is Agile scalable on top of this, and can it be scalable across any team? Yes, it can. There are probably a number of factors that you need to be able to make sure that you're maintaining a linear scalability as you're growing. And by that, I mean that as the number of teams grow, you need to also make sure that your practice saturation is also growing, that people are adopting the practices and following the practices. You can't sort of start focusing on getting more and more teams up and running without focusing on the practices for those teams too. You need to make sure that the teams are collaborating with each other. So whether that's geographic location or because you've got multiple teams, they need to collaborate, and you need to make sure that collaboration stays in place as you're growing. The main aim of that sort of linear sort of an approach is that you're maintaining that transparency, inspection, adaptation to get the best out of your velocity and the highest value delivered for your velocity within that space.
Perfect. Thanks, Jason. And Sushila, over to you.
Thanks, Sarah. Thanks, Jason. I totally, Jason, agree with what you said. And I have an experience where our team is an IT team, but then we collaborate and work with another team, resilience team. So recently, we are trying to sync up our scrums sprints with their priorities. They have put in some priorities for us. They have done sustainability reviews on our code, and then they have come up. So they are actually not delivering, but we are connecting with them. We're using a transparent tool where things are very transparent as to what we are picking up in our sprint, which would help them tick us green in their records. So we are actually working in that area. So we are not working. So at the ground level, the teams are not working on silos. They're all collaborating with each other to get things done. I had one more thing that I wanted to bring in, Arod, in this discussion is regarding the projects involving multi-vendors, actually teams.
Mm-hmm.
So that is actually also inspired us to adapt scaling. So I have a working experience with projects that have got teams from across organizations and across geographies as well, different geographies. So therein scaling is really, really important, where we come up with a framework where we define how we are going to collaborate when the geographies are different, and how, what tools are we going to use, and how are we going to sync up, or what ways of working are we going to, what would be our definition of done, and what basically working contract we are going to adapt between us, so that we don't feel that we are isolated or we synchronize with each other. So therefore scaling is very, very important, and we have defined scrum actually for such teams where we had different geographies, and where we pick up a point of time which is convenient for both the teams across geographies, sync up, collaborate, and we have a transparency on what's happening, even though we don't talk, but
Yeah.
we know what's happening at their end and what's happening at our end. Yeah,
All
that
right.
scaling is important.
Thanks, everyone. We are right on track. And now we have around 10 minutes to go through the question that audience asked. And I will go through them one by one. So the first one, Zalak, he asked or she asked, I work in an IT industry service based. It's very difficult to convince the client when it comes to the timeline and cost change. Cost change than the initial estimation. How to overcome this challenge? Estimation is a very interesting concept and topic in knowledge work. Anyone want to add anything? What do you think we can do with estimation in the knowledge work?
Estimation does play a bit
So
of a role, but thinking about it from the actual challenge that they're referring to here, I think is more we're gonna run into some issue around time.
Mhm,
So to get extra time, it's going to cost us some more.
mhm,
I guess with that ability to review the prioritization of the work in hand gives us the opportunity to pivot the prioritization to more valuable stuff. So
mhm,
rather than think of adding time, why not look at what can we get done with the current amount of time we've got, and
mhm.
is that going to give us the value that we're looking for? But adding time shouldn't just be an automatic reaction to trouble. We should look at what can we do within the amount of time we do have, and is that good enough?
Mm. Now that's a very good point.
absolutely.
Not everyone think like that. This is a completely mindset switch. Sure, do you want to add anything?
Yes, Rod. So I was saying, I mean, agreeing with Jason, like absolutely as he said. And there is one more point I would add is it is very much important that how the estimation has been done and
Mhm,
how it has been shown to the management that what exactly is our backlog is in the current state and what is the future state, right? So first thing is that the estimation should be continuous, and so that you have a long term a kind of goal in place, and you know that what portion is delivering when,
mhm.
specifically by seeing the capacity of the team and also like number of members involved. So
Yeah.
in that sense, definitely the clear picture can be given to the management that with this kind of velocity, this much cost would be involved in terms of the number of hours, right? And that need to be implemented.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. So because we have
Yeah.
quite a lot of questions, so I'll go to the next one, which is quite interesting. Uh, Priyank asked, what advantage you experience due to these frameworks? So I think she's referring to probably the mainstream frameworks like Scrum, Say, those kind of things. Any disadvantage of using frameworks, maybe?
So
Okay,
one
I will
only
bring a
small thing.
recent example. Yeah, sorry,
Okay.
Sharad, go
No,
ahead.
Go ahead.
no, go.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
a
Sushil.
recent example I would bring in. We tried adopting Kanban approach or Kanban ways of working for a requirement that we didn't know we didn't have visibility on the requirements at all. It was had to be built with the help of workshops involving various people, and the requirements had to be built. We just had one line statement, and we didn't know what has to be actually how a backlog would look like.
Mhm,
So the Kanban approach was adapted. So a lot of things were involved, like workshops, and then creating epics, creating initiatives,
mhm,
capabilities. Epics was all done as an exercise as part of that. But that actually framework didn't help us. The reason being, it was a very slow approach.
mhm,
So after we had some minimal stuff as a backlog, we changed the framework to a Scrum approach, and we said with just enough requirement that we had, let's prioritize what is the most important thing that we had to do as part of this project, and then refine that, build that, and then deliver it in Scrum. So that has actually helped us.
okay.
The
So
Kanban ways of working has
that,
taken away a lot of
yeah,
time actually.
the issue you had with Kanban was that it was the change was slow, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was slow. And
You
the
know,
Scrum that we brought in, and I was a Scrum lead for that, and then we were able to
in
expedite the deliverables.
this is one of the Kanban principles. You know, Kanban is a evolutionary change management and approach. So
Yep,
it's just evolve over time, right? And
exactly.
yeah, but good stuff. Unlike Scrum that restructured the company, and then people might complain. Oh, as you, Sushila, you said, oh, what happened to my role? I used to
Yeah.
be a manager, and now I'm a product owner with no authority. What do you want me to do? Good. All
Right.
right. So another question,
One,
which we
Yep.
have 5 minutes.
yes,
So let's move on to the next one.
sure.
Rakesh asked, I think the problem is that thinking of top management does not get truly translated because we talk a lot about, senior management. I think that's a really good question. Have we actually understood what top management wants, and have we translated correctly?
I think
Yeah,
sometimes
so
the
simple answer to that is,
Maybe Jason and then
sorry,
Sharad.
go ahead.
okay. So I think a lot of organizations find it relatively easy to demonstrate what their vision or what their mission is. I think where it loses translation is determining objectives that can link to how the teams are operating and be delivered in a way in which teams and their way of working is taken into consideration. As an example, OKR structures, for instance, are a good link between the vision or the mission of an organization and it flowing into how, at a delivery perspective, the vision or the strategic goals can be achieved. So that's definitely one that I've seen work very well. And it then makes sure that I've got this kind of picture in my mind of this V, right? It starts off with your vision, it starts off with your mission, and then it gets dissected into objectives. And then, say, for instance, if you are sprinting, if you're in a Scrum sort of situation, then you've got your sprint goals that attribute to the product goal or those objectives. And by achieving all of your sprint outcomes, you're therefore achieving your product goal or your more major objectives. And by achieving those, you'll reach your vision. So I kind of think of this as a kind of this V model that kind of hangs it all together quite nicely.
Cool. Thanks, Jason. Sharad?
Yep, I just wanted to give a very small reply to this is that uh, it doesn't matter that it is a matter of top management, middle management, or the ground level teams or their management. It is important uh, that whatever the work items are being created, like for example, if the top management leadership is creating the themes and they know that what goals they want to achieve, it is very much important that for all the work items, the acceptance criteria need to be defined, very well defined. And when the acceptance criteria are defined well, the further work items are being created or being broken down on those top level acceptance criteria. This is one thing. Second thing, that apart from the acceptance criteria, the leadership also need to ensure that what kind of assumptions and risks are defined. If
Mm-hmm.
those things are defined, then definitely it goes to the ground level and the teams can adopt all their backlog accordingly.
Sure. Cool. Perfect. Thanks, everyone. So as Jason said, we do what we can do in our time box. So we have 2 more minutes left and see what we can fit in these 2 minutes. So Sahil said that nowadays many organization, and it's a very long one, maybe we can just fit the question into these 2 minutes. Nowadays, many organization has adopted safe play. Safe is such a heavy methodology and rigid that you can't consider it to be an agile framework. What works is has taken multiple good concepts like Scrum, Kanban, DevOps, CI/CD, Lean, and made it its own framework. but it's in fashion. And as an agile practitioner, I feel scared or worry how organizations are feeling into this agile scam. You can't be agile when you plan for 3 months ahead during program increment. Also, lots of anti within faith. So that's not really a question, it's just a statement. First of all, I appreciate if people respect everyone and all the, I don't know, frameworks and stuff like that. I would suggest you, Sahil, if you have better idea, if you have better solution as an agile practitioner, as an agile coach, you need to help your client to find the best approach. If you think safe, it's not fit for the problem, then maybe suggest something else. So don't worry about it and find a better solution and help your client to find a better solution. All right, thanks everyone. We are just on time. Nupur, I will hand over to you. And thanks all the panelists and thanks everyone for listening and all the questions. Thank you very much. I really enjoy it. Thanks.
Thanks all.
Thank you, Arod, Sharad, Jason, and Sushila. It was really stimulating discussion. We got some amazing questions as well. I wish we could cover all, but as Jason said, time box, you know.
That's
So
right.
thank you very much, and thank you very much to all our participants for being with us.